சிவராஜ் ஹோமியோபதிக் மருத்துவக் கல்லூரி 23வது வருட மாணவர் சேர்க்கை கலந்தாய்வு நடைபெறுகிறது. கவர்மெண்ட் ஃபிக்ஸ்ட் ஃபீஸ் ஒன்லி. தொடர்புக்கு 7444883500.
வறுக்க பொரிக்க ஏன் எல்லா சமையலுக்கும் மந்த்ராதான். மந்த்ரா கடலை எண்ணெய், அபார ருசி, ஆரோக்கியமான உடல் நலம்.
தொழிற்சாலை மற்றும் கிடங்குகளுக்கு தேவையான உலகத்தரத்திலான பஃப் கிளேடிங் அண்ட் ரூஃபிங் ஆர்டர்களுக்கு பைனியர் கோல்ட் ஸ்டோர் அண்ட் கிளேடிங் பிரைவேட் லிமிடெட். மேலும் விவரங்களுக்கு 9500126500.
மாதம்பட்டியில் ஓர் அற்புதம். பரிபூர்ணாஸ் ஐஸ்வர்யம் சீனியர்ஸ் லிவிங் பாரடைஸ்.
Phone 9943299940.
Even if you have a linguistic research, we can see that Sanskrit and Tamil are two different languages which completely can stand alone. You can, without any mixing, you can see Sanskrit as a purest form of language, and you can see Tamil also without any mixture of even Sanskrit. Of course, even in nowadays it's a lot of mixes are, even English is there, mixture in Tamil and Hindi, everything is there. But Tamil can stand alone without mixing of anything. It's a purest form. So these two languages, even as our Prime Minister repeatedly mentioned, the oldest language ever we have seen is Tamil. So what we were told here, Tamil has a entirely different language, culture, heritage, everything, skin, actually everything, and Sanskrit is of North Indians, Tamil is of the South Indians. So that the Caldwell's theory came, all Malayalam and Kannada and Telugu all came from Tamil. So this is called Dravidian language. You will be agree that Tamil is the oldest language ever, and Sanskrit will be the oldest language there.
So let us talk about that. So I'm not sure I'll agree with Prime Minister Modi on this one, but let's say the first question. Every language is a rich repository of the local heritage, culture, history, practices, very rich heritage. We should never demolish, we should value all the local languages because they do this.
How latest it is, even?
Yes, because it's all, because our folk songs, our Janapada Gita and everything is all based upon local languages. This is where our local history is, our culture, practices, everything is over here. So the value comes over there. This does not discount the reality. So who in India said that? Who was the first person to say that there are two language families in India? All over India, we had no such kind of understanding. Sanskritam has always been used to communicate a scientific knowledge base throughout India. Even if you go to Kerala School of Mathematics, Astronomy and Mathematics, Madhava and others, they used Malayalam script to write Sanskrit. So their understanding of mathematics, astronomy was in Sanskritam, where they use Malayalam script to write these
Malayalam
things.
is nothing but mixture of Sanskrit and Tamil.
Correct. But this is the same thing throughout India. They used a different script from that area to communicate knowledge in Sanskrit because the vocabulary was rich.
I completely understand that Sanskrit was used as a scientific language. Right. Even in Tamil Nadu, we used to call all the nakshatras, all the rasis, even the months. We don't have a separate Tamil months here. So, Adi, Avani, Pratasi, Aipasi, everything is common here. Right. So even the years, Vibhava, Vaiva, all these years name, everything is in Sanskrit. We completely agree. But that can be seen as a scientific language. But Tamil as an independent language, without the mixture or influence of Sanskrit, it can stand alone.
Let us deconstruct that little more. Yeah. This whole idea that India had only one language family. This is the first thinking the colonial people had. When they first came, people like Colebrooke, people like several others, they thought India has only one language. So they thought all Indian languages come from Sanskrit, and this side Europe is linked to European languages. Then there was this gentleman called Campbell. Campbell was in the Telugu regions. He was a colonialist over there. He suspected, no, that is not true. There must be another language family here. His mentor was Ellis White. Ellis White had worked with Pandit from Sanskrit College in Tamil Nadu, and they had constructed a word list from Panini's Dattapartha. And from that, he tried to see what are the same words in Kannada, Telugu, in Hindi and other words in Sanskrit. And they came to say that if it takes a word like, for example, milk is palu. In Kannada it is halu. In Hindi it is doodh. In Sanskritam also there are different words for this. By looking at this word list, by looking at the prefix, suffix, Ellis White, he wrote a foreword. He wrote a 40-page foreword to Alexander Campbell's book on Telugu grammar. in that 40-page foreword, he brought out all these facts, and he said that there must be two language families in India. One derived from this, another this is a southern language family. So this came to be called Dravidian proof after that, and this is the basis on which after that all the missionaries grabbed on this. Southern Indians, they start saying Dravidian by Caldwell and others. So the idea came based upon the word list that was constructed over here. My question is, if we amplify the differences, should we not take a look at the commonalities? Between you and me, we'll find differences that, yes, you are 6 feet, I am 5 feet, 5 inches or whatever, and we'll say that you are 150 pounds and I am maybe 160 pounds. Some different superficial differences are there, but at the genetic level, the similarities are great. There are several of the similarities you can find. Similarly, if you look at the similarities and structure between all the Indian languages, there is great affinity for the languages. So today the received wisdom from colonial people is that there is a southern family called Dravidians, or all studies of Indian southern languages are done with this idea that there is a southern family and there is so on, and northern family is this one. So this Aryan Dravidian idea has been reinforced by this two language family. But if we use, there are mechanisms today called Bayesian phylogenetics methods. These are mathematical methods we can use to try to find the common root of languages. If we take, like I said, Halu, Palu, these are two, in Kannada we say Halu, in Tamil we say Pal, in Telugu we say Palu. So the Ha became Pa, and the Pal became Palu. So there are some changes that have happened. So we can statistically say maybe a change will happen every 5 generations, 10 generations, a syllable might change. So there are mathematical methods using which they can try to simulate these changes and try to see where is everything converging. Today we have divergences for the same word, Halu, Palu, these are all called cognates. Each of these are different languages you can think. But statistically we can go back in time and see where they merge. Is there a common root? So people have done the studies only in the context of the so-called Dravidian languages. There's a paper that came out a few years ago, and they said there must be a Proto-Dravidian language going to 2500 BCE. 4,500 years ago, there was a common language in southern part of India from which these classical languages have diverged.
That was Tamil.
We can't say it is Tamil, sir. There's a proto-language. Whatever the proto-language was, we cannot even reconstruct because we must do something like Proto-Indo-European reconstruction for that. These people have made a big mistake in the study. The big mistake is they did not put the northern family into this basket of languages. If you put Odisha, if you put Kashmiri, if you put several other languages over here in this mix, and then try to do a common study for Indian languages, you will get a different answer. So by including an assumption meaning that the northern family is separate from southern family, you've done a research only on southern family, you got an answer. But if you include the northern family in your mathematical study, you will get a different answer. So we are understanding these things today, but people have not done these studies.
These researchers excluded the North Indian languages.
North Indian languages. So just in 2023, 3 months or 4 months back, a professor called Haggerty, he published a paper to try to show if we use Bayesian statistics, what is the root for many of the so-called PIE languages, Indo-European languages, where are they coming from? And he said that his research has completely overturned whatever is coming from ancestral DNA or from linguistic methods, that is saying Balto-Slavic is the oldest PIE becoming Indo-European from Balto-Slavic to Ukraine and other places. In 1500 BC, one more branch of Aryans came towards India, Iranian people and Indian people. He said that his research has demolished this idea. He's saying the oldest roots of Iranian and Indian languages goes to 7,000 years before present. That is much earlier than the so-called Aryan invasion and things like that, or including ancestral DNA. So researchers are doing this work, sir, and we should do more of this kind of work. In India, our linguists must take all Indian languages and use similar statistics and find out, is there a common root for all Indian languages and how ancient is that? We are not daring to do that because we have internalized this received wisdom of colonialists that there is 2 language families in India. I have said that the scripts of India all derive from Brahmi. There is no doubt about it. They all come from Brahmi. There's a common root over there which comes from Harappa and maybe elsewhere. It comes from there. There's no root that we are connected in civilization by a common script source. Why not language source? We have amplified the differences by taking this word list that Ellis White did and said there are two language families. This too can be disputed.
Even the Sanskrit as well as Tamil both were having Brahmi Lipi.
Brahmi Lipi was used for both. But the point is, even the language is different from script. So language can be expressed in different scripts. I am saying the sounds that compose our language, that is called morphology. Where is the sound word? For example, say ta, my tongue is turning, I'm hitting the top. If I say ta, my tongue is hitting the teeth. If I say ba, I'm bringing the lips together. This is the morphology of sound. Where is the sound made? In the front of the mouth, in the middle, behind. So Panini has studied all these things and put out the kind of words that we heard. That's how linguists are trying to do their studies. So I'm saying such kind of studies with Bayesian statistics must be done for all Indian languages considered, for the cognates meaning, similar meaning words in different languages, and we can try to find if there is a common root, where is it? And more studies must be done. We might be very surprised. It will overturn the history as we study today in terms of linguistics. We are one civilization, whether it is in astronomy, whether it is in culture, whether it is in script, whether it is language. We have had a proto-language. Why do we think that India is a homogeneous country? India is not a homogeneous country. We have got such a large geographical area from Himalayas up to Kanyakumari. We have got a very heterogeneous country. In our understanding in Puranas, all of India's Bharatvarsha, we have got this understanding. There's no doubt about that. It is very much over there. But in terms of practices, like you said, there are regional differences. Why do we deny that? We don't have to deny that. There are regional practices. There will be divergences. I said in nakshatra names itself, there are divergences.
That's our uniqueness.
Sure. That is uniqueness of richness, I'd say. And that's why I said every language is a rich repository of local culture, heritage, history, learning, scholarship, everything. It should be valued for what it brings to the table. But there is no denying that we have a pan-India culture. And who are the prominent people who have said this? The first person I would say is Nagaswamy. So Dr. Nagaswamy, who was ASI from Tamil Nadu circle, he spent his entire life studying about Tamil Nadu culture, and he's written the book Tamil Nadu, Land of the Vedas. In that book, unequivocally, he's saying, whatever area you take, whether it's Sangam literature or any literature, he's saying there's the undeniable existence of the so-called Vedic culture is very much there.
That is why most of the governments of Tamil Nadu never appreciated him.
Yes. They say he's a Brahminical person, therefore he'll talk this thing. But then you cannot deny the names of the poets that are there in the Sangam literature have all Damodaran, Valmiki, all these things are, where did these names come from? These are all names of the pan-India, understanding and idea, idiom and so on and so forth. Okay, let us leave Nagaswamy aside. He is a Brahminical agent, so we'll leave him aside. Let us take an outsider, David Shulman. David Shulman is professor Hebrew University in Israel. He wrote a book, Tamil, a biography, recently. He is echoing whatever Nagaswamy has did. Independently, he's made a study of the Sangam era literature, of various other aspects of the culture, and he comes with a strong statement that there never was a time when Tamil was independent of Sanskrit. I'll repeat it, sir. There never was a time when Tamil was independent of Sanskrit. This is a strong conclusion from a professor in Hebrew University, from Dr. Nagaswamy, two independent studies, giants in their areas, have said exactly the same thing. But the ideas that are there since Caldwell has put in over here, Caldwell, his motive was to convert the southern Indians into Christianity. So he wrote in his writings on Tamil grammar and others, he said, in Tamil, there is so much of Vedic content over here, Sanskrit content. If you remove the Sanskrit, we will get a purer Sen Tamil, get a purer form of Tamil. So towards that, even today there are PhDs happening in Tamil Nadu, where they're taking some ancient literature, removing out the Sanskrit and apparently getting a so-called purer form of Tamil. As a scholarly work, I've got no problem. But it is cultural vandalism. It is cultural vandalism to deny that there was a commonality of these things over there. This is lamented not by me, David Shulman. David Shulman is calling this a cultural vandalism going on in Tamil Nadu even today, where PhDs are offered for this kind of work. So this kind of thing is happening where we are denying the past. Even if you take something like Silappatikaram, Silappatikaram is going with the Sangam era literature. How was Kovalin's and Kannagi's marriage done? According to Silappatikaram, it was done by Vedic rites. Throughout India, the samskaras we follow the same, whether it's in marriage, death, birth, same samskaras are followed everywhere. Where is the question of Vedic and other such thing? Who imposed it? If you say that Aryans imposed it, when did they impose it? Because however far back in time you go, there is a common continuity. If you say Brahmins imposed it, were the Brahmins in power at any time in our history? Did Brahmins have money power? Did they have muscle power? Nothing. Brahmins are beggars throughout history. They were required to be austere, to preserve their knowledge, to focus on learning, eat simple foods, eat simple lifestyle. You devote your entire lifetime to study and impart that. That was the jati of the Brahmins.
It is about ancient Brahmins.
Sir, that is true. That is true. But the point is that this is our understanding. It may no longer be true since colonial times, but this was the understanding that we have had. So
I will have my last question here in this conversation. Now you were talking about the richest culture, and throughout India it was same everywhere, as you rightly referred, Silappadigaram. The marriage happened in a Vedic culture, Vedic system. So it was throughout the country it was same. Now there is a debate in Tamil Nadu very recently happened that Sanathanam is entirely different from Hinduism. Hinduism is a religion. We can accept it, and as Islam, as a Christianity, and Hinduism also a religion. It's a holy one. We don't touch it. But Sanatan is all sort of that unethical women persecution. All the there is no freedom for women. No, there is no women education. So all these sort of things called as Sanatan. So here a sitting minister used to say that we are against Sanathanam, not against Hinduism. Can you see any difference between this?
So to start with, the notion that there is something called Hinduism itself is derogatory. To me, the ism is a word that is a derogatory word. For example, if I use, pardon my saying this, if I say Christism, many Christians will feel offended. It is Christianity, it is not Christism. Because they understand it's a derogatory word to say all this Christ-like things, I'll put it together in Christism. That gives you an idea of how derogatory it is. So the Britishers who called this Hinduism also intended this derogatory association with this. So we had to call it Sanatana Dharma. This is our understanding of what our practices are. Second issue, we have to deconstruct what is the meaning of a religion. Religere is a Latin word meaning to adhere. So they believe there's a founder. The founder has got some principles, some practices, and their followers are called followers of that, whatever that thing is. So therefore you have Christianity with a founder, Jesus Christ, Islam with a prophet, Muhammad, and the teachings, and people follow. Good for them, I wish them well. In India, we have had this Sanatana Dharma practices going back to very, very early times with Vedanta that we understand today, Bhakti. Many expressions are there. The people who follow Abrahamic systems are people of the book. They have a book, either the Bible, the Quran, or the Talmud, or other such things. They follow these things. They live according to their principles. We are a people of the library, sir, not of the book. We have got libraries and libraries of books. Who is the founder? You got Shatapada Brahmana, you got Shruti literature, you got Smriti literature, you got Brahmanas, Aranyakas, Upanishads, and all of these things all over the place. So what are you going to say? This is the book I'm going to exalt as the primary book of what we call Hinduism. There is no such thing. So we cannot call what is over here as a religion in the context that we call them. So Sanatana Dharma is eternal practices of what is the right conduct, right way of life. Our ancestors have investigated this for very long periods of time and come about with many ideas. Like I said, dispelling avidya and many such ideas there, organization of society. Everything comes from these central notions of what we call Sanatana Dharma. So when you say that it is different from something that you choose to call Hinduism, I say it is utter nonsense. There is no such difference. That what you choose to call as Hinduism is exactly what Sanatana Dharma is. I prefer the word Sanatana Dharma because it's more accurate than the derogatory word Hinduism. There's no such thing as Hinduism. So bottom line, it is like saying that Hindutva is different from Hindus. There are some people who are going around saying I'm attacking Hindutva, but this Tattva is the essence, the truth. That is what Hindu Tattva is, the essence of what it is to be a Hindu. How can that be different from Hindu practices? They are the same. But the people who want to attack Hindus from behind a wall, they'll create this false dichotomy. A false dichotomy, there's something called Hinduism, something called Hindutva, and I'm attacking Hindutva, and I'm not attacking Hinduism. And here there's some other gentleman here saying that I'm attacking Hinduism and not attacking Sanatana Dharma and not Hinduism. This is a false dichotomy. There is no such difference. These are exactly the same. People who go around saying that there is discrimination in India, or women are attacked, or women are not allowed expression, utter nonsense once again. If in every sphere of understanding we can debate what was the cultural context throughout the world. Today we look at the world as it is today in a technological era where inflation has meant the man and the woman must both work. Double incomes are necessary to maintain a household. If you want to buy a multi-crore apartment in Mylapore, you better have either be a very rich man or husband and wife both earn to pay the EMI. So we have a different world today than the classical world that was there earlier. So if you choose to say that women did not have that and some miracle worker or founder has liberated women, well, that is your prerogative. You can come and say that. But the historical trend throughout the world has been in a certain way. We can choose to talk about what were women's, did they have voting rights in the United States? When was suffrage given to women? What was the status of women in different so-called minority religions in India? We can talk many things. So point is, if there was a cultural practice because of a certain way of life at a certain period in time, you cannot choose to demonize that, associate that with what you call Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma. You cannot choose to associate it to that and attack it. So this is creating false dichotomy. It is a fig leaf to cover your shame at attacking what you're doing over here. It is providing you the attacking cover to do that. So people who say this must be ashamed of themselves. They must be ashamed because they are utterly ignorant of world trends, of the commonality of how world has evolved in a certain way from earlier pre-technological era on to technological era, what it means today to live in a technological society, what it involves today to do that, and to claim that because of some action someone did, there's a causal effect today towards this. Regardless of that person doing anything, the world would have continued to evolve like this. If this man says that somebody over here about 70, 80 years ago brought about some reforms, therefore women have got rights today, well, what about northern India? Did the same person work in northern India or did he work in the confines of Tamil Nadu? So can we say there's a causal link, sir? Can we say there's a causal link? You're looking at a correlation and saying that because of him this happened. And I'm saying regardless of that, this would have happened.
Can you recall any incident or any person to call it a woman, empowered woman in the historical period or pre-colonial era or before, we can call it a Periyar, and also at least 100, 200 years before, can you recall any empowered women that we were having this type of women?
Many. We can go to deep history. If you go back to the time of Yajnavalkya, I hope nobody says mythical. He was very much a rishi who wrote Shatapatha Brahmana. A mythical person can't write Shatapatha Brahmana that has survived till today. Yajnavalkya was challenged by a woman rishi, Maitreyi. Maitreyi came and challenged Yajnavalkya in the court of the king and asked, Yajnavalkya, answer my questions. She demanded and asked him several questions and he was required to answer all those things. If women had a lower status, why on earth was a woman demanding Yajnavalkya, a famous rishi, to answer her questions? So clearly women were learning. That is the first thing. Clearly women had the authority to question. That is one example. Second example, we have, for example, many sculptures in India, we see women wearing the Yagnapita. So that is very much there. Indian women were part of learning. It's not only Brahmins. Many in the so-called Shudra, so-called Kshatriya, there are communities that have worn the same Yagnapita as a mark of learning. So that is no essence of any such thing. We are seeing, I talked about Maitreyi. If you go to history, for example, Lakshmi Bai, if you go to several other, Kittur Rani, Chennamma, and many other rulers, even recent times, they have very much done that. Let us not go so recent. Let us go to Adi Shankara.
In Tamil, we have Velu Nachiyar.
Yes, let us go to Adi Shankara's time. Yeah, the discussion between Mandana Mishra, I'm referring to.
And his wife.
Yes. So the judge was his wife. Yeah. So wife was given the job of a referee, which means she can't be a referee unless she has understood Vedanta and the topics of discussion, Mimamsa or Advaita and other such things. She has to understand that. Only then she can be a referee. So this evidence is there in our thing. So how can we say that women did not have that?
She was educated, she was so neutral.
Correct.
Even her husband was in a debate, she was very neutral and fair.
Right. So let us look at the way world has evolved. Even in 1950s, in United States, as well as the so-called advanced United States, a single man's salary was enough to sustain a big household. His wife did not have to work. That was enough. Whether in the United States or in India, it was the same question. But the way the world currencies and inflation has happened, today, even in the United States, you must have a double income if you want to maintain a certain lifestyle. Whether in India also, it's the same thing, that you must have a double income if you must do that. So to claim that some person had an impact on women's education and things like that is utter nonsense. These things have been happening for quite a long time. Look at works of Dharma that is showing us clearly how different varnas, different jatis, everybody was educated in pre-British India and so on. So to claim that only one section had education, others did not have, women in India got a different kind of education because a different kind of thing was necessary. We have examples all over the place. So I do not agree to this.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rajvedam. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for your sharing your knowledge, and we are very much happy. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a real pleasure, sir. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much.